and that gets you to about 20,000 vehicles a year.
Okay, Ryan would like to know, will the self-directed IRA investments end on June 30th as well?
Yes, the self-directed IRAs are going into, they can end up in either round. They can end up in the Reg CF if you're not accredited. If you're accredited, they'll end up in the Reg D and you'll have the bonus share option. But we're going to cut that off at June 30th as well. So all of that needs to stop so that U.S. Capital can go forward with their raise at that point.
Okay, Keith would like to know, is APTERA already monetizing the partnerships with Polydrops and Everest? If not, when does APTERA expect to monetize these and other partnerships?
Depends on what you mean by monetization, but yes, there's money involved.
I'd just like to point out that Blake managed to get a word in edgewise while Chris was having a drink. That was his chance, and he took it.
Have you been in discussions with Tesla to allow APTERA to use their supercharging network?
Once we start to go through validation of our supercharging capabilities, that gets to be more of a question. But yeah, we've worked great with integrating the NACS connector, and the protocols aren't really that hard to set up. And right now, you can take an APTERA off the shop floor and charge with your Tesla app. So it's really the integration on the back end, the billing side, that has to happen. So it's not really a technical hurdle. It's more like a business relationship hurdle. But we're blessed to have access to the NACS connector, and we can't wait to see people driving the APTERA around cross country and stopping at superchargers and taking a quarter of the time to charge their APTERA versus everybody else around them. It'll be a really cool thing to see.
So we're offering accelerators, tours, some of them even get lunches with Chris and Steve. When will those be available for scheduling?
Now.
Oh, yeah. All right, great. Bidirectional charging, when is that planned to be available?
Bidirectional charging is part of the charging algorithm, so it's not really something that we would do. It would be the company that supplies the charger, and the current supplier of the charger, I think, has that capability, but I don't think any of the chargers that we have in-house currently have that capability, and I don't know the timeline on that. But yes, we anticipate having bidirectional charging capability. Whether it ships with some of the first vehicles, I don't know, but it is a feature that's relatively easy to add.
You've said that after the first couple hundred vehicles are built, some production lines, such as chassis and battery, will be moved from overseas to California. How long will this move take, and how long of a pause in production will there be?
Kind of like the monetization question, it's all about the money.
Yeah, I wouldn't say a couple hundred vehicles. It's going to be a little bit more than that before we move those over to the U.S.
We're talking years.
Yeah, it's a longer timeline. It's going to be partnering with that relationship in order to figure that out. But I know that the funding that we're going after in the U.S. Government, they're heavily depending on that as well. So it's a step that we're definitely going to take.
Yeah, the government support in the U.S. for manufacturing is strong, maybe not as much on the technology side. We're also finding pretty strong support for technologies overseas in Europe, so it's kind of a fight between what agency is most willing to financially support some of the production stuff. But we like the idea of onshoring the battery stuff very early, onshoring some of the body part production over time, and hopefully have everything built in America as we grow.
Yeah, battery will be coming over.
The battery's quick.
Yeah.
But the presses for the composite parts are very big, and they take some time. I mean, it's the lead times on equipment like that is long.
Definitely no mention of the motors. I believe they should have mentioned the motors because motors are a really important part of an EV. It's silence on motors. And when he says they're looking to have more things made in America, he's starting from a very, very low point because just about everything is not made in America at the moment. He's got a long way to go to have the majority of that silly trike made in America. I believe it'll never happen.
Our investment investor Mark has a question about his investment. He says he's invested about $1,500 and he's curious if the investment is cumulative between all of the crowdfunding campaigns, so the CF, the D, the A. If he's able to qualify for perks through the different rounds. So if he's invested some in the CF and some in the D and some in the A, can he qualify for various investment perks?
Thanks for the support, Mark. The answer is yes, but it may take some time because some of these investments, the Reg D and the Reg CF, it may take a few months to actually fully clear the investment, and then you have to make sure they're cohesive in computer share, right?
Correct. Yeah, the Reg CF works a little bit differently than the other offerings that we've done. So there's a minimum time frame before we can close those out. So you'll see a little bit of a delay, maybe a few weeks before those start to show up in computer share like your previous shares.
Yeah. The only one is that 1,000 coupon, right? Because that was after a certain day. So it's like,
Yeah.
if you could say that.
The $2,000 offer ended?
No, it
Started.
at a certain date. So if you invested
Correct.
$2,000 a long time
Oh,
ago,
yeah. So if you invest $2,000 now, then you get a $1,000 coupon on your vehicle purchase. But that just started last year. So if you didn't invest by that date, then you don't get that offer. But everything else is cumulative.
Yeah.
Good question, Mark.
Do you have a timeline on when APTERA reservation holders might be able to have an estimated delivery date?
We hope that once we've ramped into production, we'll have much more accurate timeframes for delivery. That still is a bit suspect because we think that once vehicles hit the road, people are going to be really excited, which also increases our ability to raise funding and grow the company and align with strategic partners and the like. So that could accelerate our ability to build. You can imagine that once 1,000 APTERA are on the road and we're getting a lot of press and people are really impressed by the idea of solar mobility, that we could find a partner that says, hey, we want to build you a plant in Texas tomorrow. And we have just a facility and it's already up and it already has power and all you have to do is bring your robots over here and build. We're like, okay, sweet. That's 6 months faster than we thought we could ramp into a second factory, but great, we'll take the win. So we'll estimate, delivery dates after we start production according to the financial model that Blake and his team has created. But that could be accelerated in a number of ways just because people are excited. People are excited about the Sene possibilities.
Will early accelerator vehicles or launch edition vehicles have the ability to upgrade certain parts or components such as resistive heating or Comma AI, different things like that?
That's a good question. I would say it really depends on what the feature is. Obviously, trading your 45 kilowatt hour battery pack for a 100 kilowatt hour battery pack may be harder because you have to have suspension changes and maybe a new belly pan and a lot of other different things. Some things like, upgrading your Comma AI to the latest, hardware version, we would probably control that and we would be able to just ship you whatever the new hardware is. To use that. So a lot of the features may be relatively easy and we'll obviously try to future-proof anything we design, and the electrical team, will make provisions for that, but it probably really depends on what it is.
Sean
I'll remind you, poor Blake.
asked, will the future of the company depend on continued growth, or will it be able to stabilize and still be profitable?
That's an interesting question, but obviously the goal is to stabilize and be profitable. So cash flow positivity is king. This is my 9th startup. So I've been through the cash flow game, I've been through the cash flow ringer, and trust me, life gets a lot easier when you're cash flow positive.
Yeah. We will definitely be growing from here.
Yeah. Once you're cash flow positive, you're not worried about your longevity, because you're making money. So how you invest that money and the amount of cash flow positive is how quickly you grow. So, we expect to be able to make really good margins because we have a really supportive community that loves the idea of solar mobility. And we think that everyone on this call, and hopefully that is invested in the company and supporting the company, wants to spread solar mobility as far and wide as possible. So that means growth, growth, and growth, because producing more vehicles makes the world a better place. So,
There's a lot of indications that our IP portfolio will be able to help us grow into different segments as well.
yep.
Okay, next question is from Jason. He's wondering if you anticipate any price changes to the vehicles or if they will be fairly similar.
That's a good question. We priced these vehicles and announced pricing 3 years ago. Just inflation over the last 2 years accounts for probably 30% of the rise of cost of almost everything you see around you today. We anticipate that at least the cost of inflation has hit almost all of our bill of materials. But in some places, it's actually the opposite. Some prices have gone down. Aluminum prices and copper prices have gone down significantly over the last 6 to 9 months. Same thing with battery cell pricing and other stuff. So, part of the gift of kind of the slow funding that we've had is that we've had more time to sort out supply agreements and let the supply chain calm down after COVID. We're thankful that some of the bill of materials has actually gone down. So how that affects total pricing over time, we haven't speculated yet, because as we get closer to production, we'll finally have locked down all of the master supply agreements with people. And once we have locked down all the supply agreements with people on what they're going to be supplying to the factory floor and at what price, then we can say, okay, this is how much that rolls up to actually deliver these first vehicles. And we know the first ones will be more expensive to build, but hey, 6 months after we deliver the first one, we expect things to calm down and we expect to be cash flow positive, and everybody's kind of happy, and this is what we're comfortable selling the vehicle at. It's $35,294, and that works with our financial model. So that's a.
This is interesting because Chris is saying they haven't even speculated on what the price will be, and yet Blake has worked out that it'll take 6,000 to break even. How on earth can they not speculate on what the price is going to be and then work out that there'll be 6,000 vehicles to break even? It is nonsense. It's not possible to work out where the break-even point is unless you have worked out what one individual item costs, both to make and to sell, and have that profit margin in between, a known factor.
Long-winded answer to your question, but that's kind of the basics.
Yeah.
Thank you. Joel
I noticed Blake kept quiet on that, except for a little yep.
is wondering why there is not the ability to choose between a limited menu of wraps for the vehicles.
A great question, which harkens back to our manufacturing model and Sandy's suggestion to be the most manufacturable vehicle in the world means you can't paint it. Because the paint shop is very expensive and time consuming, and you'll spend half of your expertise just figuring out the damn paint. The CPC relationship gets us beautiful exterior body panels that right after that part comes out of the mold, you can put a sticker on it, and the sticker can be any color you want. The problem for us initially is we don't want to have a wrap shop in addition to our factory floor. So just choosing one launch color makes it much easier. You have one corner of the shop that's 300 square feet that the vehicles are wrapped at before they actually ship out the door, and it only has one color wrap, so they're all cut the same. You'll have a cut pattern, and then 2 people will apply the wrap to each vehicle. Storing 15 different colors of that wrap gets very cumbersome, and then you have to assign the color to the wrap at the end. We have talked about shipping the vehicles sans wrap. So maybe when you order the vehicle, you can check a box that says, I don't want you to wrap it. So at the end, we tell people, okay, don't worry about wrapping it. We're going to ship it to this person. And when that person receives it, we'll be able to send a local shop a DXF file, a drawing file for how to cut the wrap. And they'll cut it for you. And then hopefully in just a couple hours, they can make your APTERA pink or purple or all the colors of the rainbow or patterns or Hello Kitty or
my preference.
My daughter's terribly into Sanrio, so she loves the Hello Kitty and the cinnamon roll, the bunny. So her APTERA will probably have the bunny on it somewhere.
Yeah, Paw Patrol would probably
Paw
be my
Patrol.
choice.
That's awesome. Okay, this question is from the Gales. They would like you to clarify your statement about accelerator deliveries. Is California first, or are accelerator deliveries first?
Accelerator deliveries are first.
Absolutely.
Okay. Scott wants to know, does APTERA have or plan to put into place lobbyists or any other means to qualify for the EV tax credit? Are those plans in place, and can we get an update on progress?
Yeah, Dwayne with the Livingston Group has been lobbying on our behalf for quite a while, and we're working on just that right now. The ability of Congress to pass sane legislation is maybe more difficult than we. Getting the government to do things that we want to do is very difficult. So I would say we don't have a time frame for when that could happen or why, but we are working on it.
But that lobbying group
They don't know that it'll ever happen, but they don't tell you that. They just say they don't know the time frame for when it'll happen. That's softening the blow.
has done a ton of great work for us. They're
yeah.
a huge supporter of our team. They're a big reason why we're able to, lock in that CEC grant. So we have a big thank you out to those guys, the Livingston Group.
Yep.
That's all for me. Bye for now. Stay safe.